Every May 25th, we celebrate the African Day, which is in commemoration of the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, which is called the African Union today. But the question that many people are asking is that, is the celebration of the African Day really necessary, considering the current events sweeping across the African continent? Once again, my name is Kwame Ahin, and welcome to our channel. If you believe in Pan-Africanism and you believe in the Pan-African values, kindly stay with me, subscribe to this channel, like, comment, and share with your friends, because I'm going to discuss something very interesting with you. Now, we all know that the Organization of African Unity was formed on May 25th, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, by 32 African states at the time. But what many people do not know is the history before the Organization of African Unity. Let's get into it. So, the dream of a united Africa had been there for centuries, for years. And before 1963, some African countries had made a conscious effort for a united Africa, starting from a point. So we had the Casablanca group at the time, and we had the Monrovia group at the time. The Casablanca group comprised of Ghana, comprised of Mali and Guinea. These countries came together with the sole intention of freeing themselves from colonialism. And then we had the Monrovia group, which also comprised of Nigeria, Liberia, and Senegal. They also formed this with the sole intention of freeing themselves from colonial rule. Then until 1963, May 25th, 32 African heads met in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia to form the Organization of African Unity. Now, it is important to note that the Organization of African Unity was formed with the sole intention to be an anti-colonial body. In short, it was there to fight against colonialism and to help member states free themselves from colonial rule, and to also support South Africans against the apartheid regime. Now, we all know history. We know what went on in Addis Ababa in 1963. I was not born then. I was not there. I know some of you that you are watching, you were born by then. Some of you were not born then. Whatever be the case, history has proven that a lot of people gave prominent Pan-Africanists gave powerful speeches at the time. We remember Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and the rest. But the question is, did the Organization of African Unity live up to its mandate? I will say yes. As it has redefined itself to African Union, is it living up to its mandate? I will say yes and no. Work with me as I take you through it, and then you understand as to whether indeed it has achieved its purpose, it has achieved its own goals, or it is failing. So on July 9th, 2002, the African Union was established. Somebody will say the African Union is actually a different body from the Organization of African Unity. I will say no. Even though I may side with you when it comes to the principles and objectives and what it seeks to achieve, since both of them had their own goals, it is also important for you to know that the African Union shares the same principles with the Organization of African Unity. Why am I saying that? When the African Union was formed on July 9th, 2002, its main purpose was to ensure social, political, economic liberation across the African continent and among the member states. This is the main responsibility of the African Union, because it has shifted from being an anti-colonial body. The reason being that we are currently not facing colonialism today. Even though Africa is crippled with neo-colonialism, that is the slight difference between the OAU and the AU today. OAU was confronted with colonialism, African countries being ruled by the colonial government. And therefore, they were to tackle it, and they were to help African countries to gain their independence. Now, the African Union is currently charged with the responsibility of ensuring that member states and all the African countries get liberated economically, politically, and socially from all forms of neo-colonialism and its tendencies. The question is, Has the African Union lived up to this task? That is the question I'm asking you. And I believe that is the question that you've been asking yourself. And I believe that is what you've been pondering and been wondering whenever that you see the African heads of state meeting, whether in Accra in Ghana, whether in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, whether in Lagos in Nigeria, whether in Cape Town in South Africa, whether in any part of Africa. You've been asking yourself, are these people really serious? Now, the African Union had one clear objective, that is to promote the African continental free trade among member states and across the African continent. But let's be honest with ourselves. Has that objective materialized? I would say yes, and I would say no. I would say yes, in a sense that when you go to some countries, some member countries of the African Union are able to trade among themselves. But how smooth is that? Before we can have trade liberalization, first of all, there must be a free movement and smooth movement of people from one African country to the other. I'm not saying that because there should be free movement of people, African countries should open their doors to all sort of Africans that are seeking to come into their country without proper documentation. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm trying to say that we shouldn't make it so difficult, so expensive for an African to travel from one African country to the other. It is one most important thing to know, or most people know, but they don't really talk about, is that I'm telling you, it is more expensive to travel from one African country to the other than to travel from one African country to Europe or America. I'm telling you the truth. Looking at some of the visa fees of African countries, some African countries, when you're applying for their visa, it is more expensive than applying for American visa or any European country's visa. Aside the visa, you look at the flight ticket, how much it costs. And then you ask yourself, why is it that on the continent it is more expensive to visit your own brothers and sisters living in Africa than to travel to Europe and America? This is what I believe the African Union should concern itself if indeed they truly want to achieve that objective of the African continental free trade. Because the trade, it is going to be people that will be traveling to these countries to make purchases and sales. And if it is being difficult, it is very difficult to acquire visas to visit these countries. How do you promote the African continental free trade? I know you'll be talking about importation and the rest. It all comes back to this. That is why when it comes to the West African belt, ECOWAS has a policy of people visiting a member state with a certain number of days before you can apply for the visa, or you need to go back to your country and apply for that visa if you intend to spend more days beyond that 90-day period that the ECOWAS has actually set. Other than that, we also have to look at the fact that African countries are battling terrorism. You can't deny that fact. In most cases, you see people making derogatory comments against Nigerians. I mostly see it on my Pan-Africanism page. I don't mostly see it on the YouTube platform, but I mostly see it on the Pan-Africanism page on Facebook, where most people always come at Nigerians. Your country has high insecurity, terrorism, and everything. I'm not beating that, right? I'm not beating that Nigeria is currently facing high level of terrorism. But one thing you need to know, that it has become more or less like a continental problem. And it looks like external forces are behind it. And in a way, politicians within Africa are also behind some of these terrorist groups. You look at the Sahel region, Burkina Faso is facing this, Mali is facing this. You go to Nigeria, they are facing this on the desert. You go to Nigeria, they are facing these people. Terrorists create fear and panic among people. It makes it difficult for people to travel to these countries to trade among themselves. And I believe that as a continental body, fine, they've tackled a lot of issues. They helped. I remember the Liberian Civil War when the ECOMOG stepped in. African Union also stepped in. But the question is, you see NATO, the way NATO has a standing army, why can't the African Union also have a standing army? That is the question that we need to ask. Must you always wait for tragedy to fall before we consult the member states for troops to be deployed. Because over time, we've gotten to know that the United Nations and the rest, they don't really give a damn about the African countries. This is what the African Union is supposed to do. The African Union, in its own principle and agenda, stated clearly that they are there to promote human rights. They are there to protect the rights of women, children. They are there to protect the interests of Africans. The question is, have they lived up to that? We always wake up to news of people being killed like animals. We always wake up to news of women being subjected to domestic violence. I know that member states or countries that are part of the African Union have their own reserved right of deciding for themselves. African Union cannot interfere in the internal affairs of member states. But the question is, what are they doing about the incessant violation of human rights? We see African countries, governments trying to cripple the opposition, trying to use the law and then the security agencies to instill fear in the people, to punish people for speaking up for themselves. We always see that. We saw some just last year in Tanzania when Suluhu was going after people because they were saying that they are no longer in bed with the government. We saw it. What is the African Union doing about the member states, heads of member states that are trying to change their constitution to entrench themselves in power? What are they doing? All that they care about is that coup has happened in this country. Let's sanction them. That is what the African Union is all about. If you want to cling so much to the tail of democracy, then you must always be willing to go with the key principles of democracy. Ensure that such principles are being respected and being practiced in Africa. One country to cling to the principles of dictatorship. No, it doesn't work like that. As people, we need, and as I would not even say as people, as a continental body, you need to make sure that your member state follow strictly to the charter that they've signed, follow strictly to the doctrines and the principles that they've signed up for. You can't tell me that as a body you believe in democracy, and so when coup happens in a member state, you are eager to sanction them. But at the end of the day, when the same member state of the African Union is going outside the principles that you have actually encoded in your charter, you don't talk about it. Look at what is going on in Zimbabwe. What is his name? The president of Zimbabwe, is it Mnangagwa or something? Forgive me for pronouncing the name wrongly. My fellow Zimbabweans, forgive me. But for him to change the constitution to allow MPs to elect president, we all know what goes on in Africa. We all know that corruption is among cronies and friends. He is not giving the power to the people directly. He's trying to practice what the UK people are doing. You can't do that kind of system in Africa. You can't do that kind of system in Zimbabwe, because at the end of the day, before the MPs will elect or will do the election in parliament, he will have his way with them because there are few people, so they can buy votes with money. If the whole country is voting, that one is different. This is the current situation that we are facing in Africa here. So if you ask me that whether the African Union is actually living up to its mandate, I will tell you otherwise. I feel like they are doing something, but they need to do the best. When coup d'etat happened in Burkina Faso, when Ibrahim Traoré took over power, he sanctioned Burkina Faso. When Mali happened, they sanctioned Mali. When Niger happened, they sanctioned Niger. When Guinea happened, they sanctioned Guinea. But as it is going on in Togo, as it is going on in Côte d'Ivoire, they are not doing anything about it. They feel so cool, they feel so okay with it that one family will hijack the whole country. One family will be in power for life. One person will decide to rule for life. What didn't Robert Mugabe do when he was alive in Zimbabwe? What did the African Union do about it? Let coup d'etat happen today. They will be fast to sanction the country. They will be fast to come up with a lot of sanctions, trying to cripple them to hand over power to democratically elected leaders. I'm not against democracy. I've never said anywhere that I'm against democracy. You can walk through my page and my channel. I've never made a comment against democracy. But sometimes it is upset to see that the Continental body is always quiet when some of these African leaders get power drunk. They don't talk about it. But as soon as coup happens, they are fast to act with sanctions. What is the way forward? As a Ghanaian, as an African, as a Pan-Africanist, what do we need to do for the African Union to work for the interests of Africans? Or it's about time that we dispose them off. It's about time that we disband the group, because look at what is currently happening in South Africa, where Africans are being attacked. What is the African Union doing about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Can leave in the comment section your thoughts, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others to watch. Stay blessed.